Hey guys, welcome back to my channel for day number 4 of Mystery Week. If you've been enjoying Mystery Week and you'd like to see similar videos on my channel, you can let me know by subscribing and giving this video a thumbs up. As I'm sure you can already tell by the sound of my voice, I am getting a little bit sick, but I'm determined to bring you 5 brand new videos consecutively this week. So by force or by fire, you are getting those 5 videos. And because of that, because of being sick, this video will have to come to you in the form of a voiceover. I do apologize about that. On to today's mystery. It's one that is set in Brazil and it's the first of its kind that I'm doing on this channel. So far this week, we've covered a missing persons case, we've done a broadcast hacking case, a murder, and today we are going out of this world to cover a possible extraterrestrial case. I'm interested to know if any of you believe in aliens or the existence of a life on other planets and in other parts of our universe. Let me know in the comment section down below. Because this case does involve 2 individuals that unfortunately lost their lives, I do want to state that by making this video, I mean absolutely no disrespect to the victims or to any families that were affected by this case. This video is purely for educational purposes and to give you more information about the case. Like I said, this is a Brazilian case, so there's a couple of Portuguese words which I will most likely mispronounce. I do apologize for that in advance. I think I might be able to pull off the tongue rolls. We will see. So with that said, in today's video, I'll be covering the lead masks case. On the 20th of August in 1966, in the mid to late afternoon, an 18-year-old man by the name of Jorge da Costa Alves was flying a kite on Vintame Hill in the municipality of Niterói near Rio de Janeiro in Brazil. While flying his kite, he was moving around the area trying to find better places to fly his kite when he noticed what he thought to be 2 men sleeping in the brush. The men were lying on their backs and they had their arms supporting their heads in a relaxed position. So their arms were basically on their necks, on the backs of their necks. When Da Costa Alves got closer to the men, he realized they weren't sleeping, but they were actually deceased. He immediately reported his discovery to authorities, but due to the rough terrain of the area, the police were only able to get to the scene the following day on the 21st of August. When police and firefighters finally arrived on the scene, they found a very strange sight. This brush that the men were lying on appeared to have been hand-trimmed by scissors. And this is the least mysterious thing about the case. The 2 men were laying next to each other and they were wearing matching formal suits. They had on heavy-duty raincoats and a pair of lead masks in the shape of sunglasses. These lead masks didn't have any frame arms to secure them to a person's face, and they also didn't have any eye holes either. So they were basically just sheets of lead cut into the shape of sunglasses. The materials for making these masks were later found in the respective homes of the victims. Next to the bodies was an empty water bottle and a packet containing 2 wet towels. There were no signs of trauma on the bodies discovered at the scene, nor later at the autopsy, and there was also no evidence of a struggle, so police determined foul play to be unlikely. The 2 men were identified as close friends. 32-year-old Manuel Pereira de Cruz. I've seen in some places that his surname was just Cruz, but more often than not it's been de Cruz. So throughout this video I'll be referring to him as de Cruz. And the other victim was 34-year-old Miguel Jose Viana. These 2 men were electronic technicians from Campos dos Goyatachazes. I definitely think I am not pronouncing that correctly. You'll be seeing the name on the screen right now. This town was more than 200 kilometers to the northeast of Rio de Janeiro. And where they were found, like I said earlier, was quite close to Rio de Janeiro and quite close to the city of Rio specifically. Both men were married technology enthusiasts with young families, and according to some of the people that knew the men, the two had intentions of starting their own business together. So by all accounts, they were leading pretty normal lives. They were quite happy in their lines of work. They were quite happy in their family lives. Nothing strange, nothing untoward in their history. During the course of the investigation, police managed to come up with a timeline describing their last days. On the 17th of August, De Cruz and Viana left Campos. I'm just going to refer to Campos dos Goita Shazay as Campos from here on out because that G word is tripping me up and I'm going to end up biting my tongue. Like I said, on the 17th of August, De Cruz and Viana left Campos by bus. While they were waiting for the bus though, allegedly the men ran into Viana's uncle just by chance. And they told this uncle that they were going to Niterói to either buy or rent a car. When the uncle pointed out that it's cheaper to buy the car where they live in Campos than it is to buy it in Niterói, Viana insisted that they had to go to Niterói because according to Viana, they were also going there to purchase work supplies. He also mentioned during this encounter that upon their return, the men were expecting to have had some kind of definitive spiritual revelation and that he would soon be carrying out an important mission, but that this mission was a secret. So basically, wherever they were going to go through some form of spiritual journey, and when they came back, they would have found spiritual realization, I guess. The men arrived in Niterói at 2:30 p.m. on that day, and they bought the raincoats that they were later found wearing. They bought the raincoats at a shop in Niterói, and they also bought one bottle of water from a local bar called Bar das Ralvas. The water bottle apparently required a deposit that could be refunded upon its return, and the men actually chose to take a deposit return ticket as if they thought they'd be returning the bottle later. So clearly they had intentions of coming back, because not only did they tell their uncle that they would be coming back, but they also took a deposit return ticket so that they could be refunded for the water bottle. A waitress at this bar was interviewed by police because she remembered two friends buying water, and she described Viana specifically as appearing very nervous, and she noticed that he frequently checked his watch. So he was checking his watch every few minutes, every few seconds, if not every few minutes. They left the bar at approximately 4:30 p.m. and that is the last time they were known to have been seen alive. 3 days later, their bodies were discovered on Vintame Hill. Along with all the other strange items that were found at the scene, there was also a small notebook or a small piece of paper. I've seen reports of both as well, and this notebook was found in one of the men's pockets. On the first page, it had a list of electronic materials and spare parts. The second page said, on Sunday, 1 tablet after the meal. Monday, 1 tablet in the morning on an empty stomach. Tuesday, 1 tablet after the meal. Wednesday, 1 tablet before going to bed. The contents of the third page, however, were very cryptic, and they made the mystery stranger still. So on this third page, it said the following. At 4:30, being in the agreed location. Keep in mind that 4:30 was the last time that they were seen alive. So it said, at 4:30, being in the agreed location. 6:30, swallow the capsule after the effect. Protect metals, wait for the mask signal. Obviously, all of this was written in Portuguese, but the grammar didn't make sense in Portuguese either. According to Alcio Gomez, who was a friend of the two men, the pair were members of a secret religious cult of scientific spiritualists, which was heavily involved in experimentation with psychedelic drugs. This friend also claimed that the men were interested in attempting to contact extra-terrestrials or spirits. I'll get into this a bit more when I cover theories. It's also important to note that the area the two men were found was apparently a popular UFO hotspot. Unfortunately, it will never be known whether they actually ingested any strange capsules that were mentioned in the cryptic notes, because at the time of the deaths, the coroner's office was overcrowded and it was also understaffed. The bodies could not be put into cold storage because of the lack of space. And these bodies had already been exposed to the elements for 3 days. So they were exposed to the elements for 3 days and they weren't put into cold storage. By the time the autopsies could eventually be performed, the internal organs were already too badly decomposed for any reliable toxicology testing to be done on their internal organs. The coroner did manage to identify a cause of death, and the cause of death was determined to be cardiac arrest for both of these men. These deaths remind me of the Heaven's Gate incident. For those of you that don't know, Heaven's Gate was an American UFO religious cult. It was based near San Diego in California. It was founded in 1974 and led by Marshall Applewhite and Bonnie Nettles. On the 26th of March 1997, police discovered the bodies of 39 members of the group in a house in the suburb of Rancho Santa Fe. All had died by suicide.
We're going to talk to you about the most urgent thing that is on our mind, and what we suspect is the most urgent thing on the minds of those who will connect with us. We'll title this tape Planet Earth About to be Recycled. Your only chance to evacuate is to leave with us. Planet Earth about to be recycled. Your only chance to survive or evacuate is to leave with us.
If you want me to cover the Heaven's Gate cult and the incident, then you can leave a like on this video, and if we get it to, let's say, 15 likes by next week Friday, I'll include it as part of another Mystery Week, or I'll just do it as a separate video on True Crime Tuesday. Before I get into the theories, there's one last strange facet of this case that I need to cover. According to Flying Saucer Review magazine, in 1962, so 4 years before the events of this case, a TV technician by the name of Hermes Louis Feitosa was found dead on the top of Morro do Cruzeiro near Neves. His corpse also had a lead mask lying beside it. Apparently, investigations revealed that the victim had gone to that place with the specific intent to experiment alleged psychic abilities that would have allowed him to pick up radio and television signals without the use of electronic means. I have no idea what that means, how you can pick up radio or television signals. But yeah, he wanted to do this only through the power of mind. So now let's get into the theories. The first theory is that the men were illegally selling radioactive materials in an underground smuggling ring type of situation, and they were selling these materials to unknown buyers from the Brazilian criminal underground. According to this theory, the men were killed by the buyers and transported to the hill in order to confuse police. This theory could possibly explain the raincoats and the wet towels, as they were probably supposed to serve as protection from the radiation. But if they wanted to be protected from radiation, a full face mask would be more protective than a sheet of metal that was only supposed to cover their eyes. The bodies of the men were also scanned for radiation, but the levels of radiation on the bodies and clothes were not even slightly above normal. Another hole in this theory is that if these criminals wanted to avoid police suspicion or to confuse police, why would they take the materials that the men were supposedly trying to use to protect them against radiation? Because that would link them to radioactive materials, that would link them to an underground Brazilian crime group that was trying to buy and sell radioactive materials. And why would they go through the effort of even taking those from whatever original scene of the crime to the hill. That just doesn't make sense to me in that theory. So the second theory is related to the first theory, somewhat related to the first theory, is that the men were victims of a deadly scheme. Apparently, the men should have had roughly around $1,000 on them at the time. Obviously, they wanted to buy a car, so they would need money to buy this car. And $1,000 would be approximately $8,000 in 2018. But local newspapers reported that De Cruz only carried around $5 in his pockets, and Viana had approximately $64 stuffed into a plastic bag, so nowhere near $1,000. The loophole that I find in this theory is if somebody did rob them and they took close to $1,000, why would they leave $5 and $64? If you had 100 Rand in your pocket and you saw 10 Rand on the ground, you're not going to leave that 10 Rand. You're going to take that 10 Rand even though you've got 100 Rand. So them leaving money in the men's pockets doesn't really make sense to me at all. And now onto the stranger theories. In an article published by Folha de Sao Paulo on the 31st of August of that year, a professor of yoga suggested that the men may have been trying to carry out a telepathic experiment with high-frequency thought waves. All of these things about brainwaves and thought waves and microwaves and television waves, it's just really strange to me, and I don't understand what was going on in these people's minds to be thinking of high-frequency thought waves. So this yogi explained that for these kinds of experiments, psychedelic drugs such as LSD are taken to step up mental alertness and the frequency of the brain. I know that there's brain waves and things like that, but I don't believe it's possible to step up the frequency of the brain, whatever that means. Since the weird event occurred in the mid-1960s, though, recreational use was at its peak at this time. So it is possible that the men were taking extremely high doses of some hallucinogen. But this theory falls apart because police never confirmed if either of the men had a history of drug use. Another theory is that the men ventured to the secluded location on the hill because they were following instructions dictated by extraterrestrial beings. Like I said earlier in the video, the area that the men were found in was a UFO hotspot. In order to perform some religious ritual, the men were allegedly supposed to ingest capsules containing an unknown hallucinogenic substance and wait for extraterrestrials to contact them. And according to believers of this theory, the men were likely instructed to protect themselves from radiation emitted by a descending UFO by ingesting these special capsules, wearing the lead eye masks at the moment when the spacecraft was about to land near them, and obviously also using the wet towels. The final and most ridiculous theory, in my opinion, is that the men were time travelers. Maybe it's possible, but to me this theory is improbable. I'm not going to say it's impossible, but it is improbable. Of all of these theories, and based on the available information, the theory that I'm most inclined to believe is that their deaths were the result of an accidental suicide, possibly due to their attempt to make contact with extraterrestrial life. So I do believe that it was a combination of the use of drugs, a combination of extraterrestrial involvement, perhaps. I'm not ruling that out. I'm not denying the existence of extraterrestrial life because the universe is huge and we've only explored such a small part of it. We really don't know what's out there. I personally believe in extraterrestrial life. I'm very interested to know which of these theories you believe. If you have your own theories or maybe even any additional information that I didn't include, you can leave all of that in the comment section down below. With that, it does bring us to the end of this video. Be sure to come back tomorrow for the 5th and final day of Mystery Week. Tomorrow's video is one that you definitely don't want to miss. So do subscribe and click the notification bell. That way you'll be notified as soon as the video goes live. Thank you so much for watching, for listening. I do apologize once again for the format that this video had to take. Unfortunately, in order for Mystery Week to not be a bust and to not be a complete failure, I had to do what I had to do. So I'll see you tomorrow for the last day of Mystery Week. Bye, guys.